Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to Nature Obscura, a podcast where nature and the supernatural collide. I'm Marissa.
And I'm Grace. Each week, we share spooky happenings from the great outdoors, from cryptids to curses, ghosts to witches, and everything in between.
Now, while we love a haunted house or a scary hospital story, that's not what we're here for. We're taking you around the globe to explore where nature and the supernatural intersect.
At the beginning of each episode, we're going to briefly share any spooky or nature encounters we've had over the past week before diving into the natural history and background, and then the main story.
So grab your flashlight, listen closely, and let's step into the strange together.
So, Marissa, what have you been up to lately? Anything spooky or naturey?
Definitely naturey. Lots of work, doing a lot of volunteering at the bird banding station.
How's that going? Are you getting the hang of any species in particular?
I'm getting a lot better with thrushes and sparrows, I'd say, and both identifying because I've always been not as strong with native sparrows and like more rare thrushes.
Yeah, they're
So
hard.
that's been pretty exciting. And I actually just was that just yesterday. It was literally just yesterday. Time is a very strange concept right now with how insane it is. But I banded my first bird yesterday. So that was really
Really?
cool. I got to do the whole process. And I did the measurements correctly. I did 2, but I got the age right. I got the sex wrong. My bad. But that's fine. That's why you have a book to double check. But, yeah, I banded and everything. That was cool. Just starlings because, they didn't want me to band any of the native birds in case they escaped from me.
So how do you sex a starling? That seems like it would be so hard.
It's actually easier than you'd think. I haven't done it before, so I didn't realize how obvious it would be. So you look at the mouth bill, so at towards the base of the bird's beak, it'll be, like, pinkish in coloration, which is subtle, and that'll be female, or it'll be, like, robin eggs blue, and that's obviously male.
Wow, that's really
Um,
crazy. I wonder if you could see
yeah.
that, like, through binoculars or if it's
You
passing right
actually
in front of you.
I honestly think you could probably see it through binoculars.
Oh, cool. I'm gonna look next time.
How was your past week gone?
Yeah, I've just been working too, trying to get outside more that the weather is warming up, but then, of course, we have a downswing and it's cold and rainy, but I still got out. We went hiking, my baby and I, so that was really cool. We have a really big recreation area right next to us where we live, and it's gonna be so fun to go there all summer. My spooky-ish naturey thing this week is, have you ever heard of a frog with eyes in its mouth?
Only in my nightmares.
Yes, look at the pictures I just sent you.
Oh, no. Why? There's what are they, like, green frogs? They're a type of frog with the eyes instead of growing on top of its head, it's growing inside of its mouth, like,
Yeah.
along the roof of its mouth.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same species or different species, but it's basically this rare biological anomaly known as macromutation. I looked that up. It's a developmental defect, super rare, but some people have gotten photos of them. And you guys, if you've never seen these pictures, just Google frog with eyes and mouth. It's exactly how it sounds. It's terrifying. Am I right?
It's terrifying, but I also love it.
Yes.
And they can survive?
Yeah.
I mean, they're adults in these, they're fully grown.
Oh, and
Wow.
get this. So this was first found, like, documented in the wild in 1992, and the person named him Gollum.
Aw.
Yeah, in Ontario. Yeah,
Oh, that's really neat. Has
but
anyone at your work ever seen anything like this when doing the frog breedings, or
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, for this week's episode, this was actually suggested by a listener, I think. One of Grace's friends.
My friend Josh, we went to high school together and then we went to the same college. He listens to the podcast and he recommended this topic. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm so glad he did because there's so many firsthand accounts of this case. In fact, there was, uh, 70 pages of case files for me to go through, which
Seriously?
was awesome. Yes. So today, we are going to be talking about the big muddy monster of Murphysboro, Illinois. Before we get into the mysterious cryptid that captured the hearts of the small town in southern Illinois, Grace is going to dive in, of course, to the natural history and habitat of the area.
Founded in September 1843, Murphysboro, Illinois is a historic community of just over 1,000 residents, situated in the southern portion of the state. Geographically, it's located just 10 miles east of the Mississippi River and approximately 12 miles away from Southern Illinois University, where both my husband and I went and we met. Go Salukis! But
What
also,
is a Saluki?
oh yeah, the Saluki is a dog breed. It's the really cool Egyptian looking one.
That is
Oh yeah,
such a random mascot.
it
I've never heard
is.
of that.
It's so cute. At the games, they actually had a few that would be there. I got to pet one.
They are really cute. Just
Very random.
okay.
So something that you should know about Southern Illinois too is there's a big Egypt theme, and I'm not sure why. I have not gone into that
I
detail.
want you to because I was hearing that when I was seeing that when I was like reading some of the articles. They call it Little Egypt, and I remember you mentioning that before.
Yeah,
Why is it called Little Egypt?
I have no idea. No clue. I've lived there. I lived in Southern Illinois my entire life. No, wait, that's false. I lived in Southern Illinois for most of my life, and I never figured it out. But besides the Egypt theme, for many years, Murfreesboro's economy was based on coal mining, and the town served as an important regional hub for broader industry and transportation. And in 2015, the Illinois House of Representatives officially designated Murfreesboro as the barbecue capital of Illinois in recognition of its rich barbecue history and competitive success. Through its history, Murfreesboro has survived intense climate and meteorological events. The most devastating occurred in 1925 at approximately 2:30 p.m. when the historic tri-state tornado struck Murfreesboro, essentially destroying the town, and it killed 234 people, which is the highest death toll for any single community in a tornado event in the US history.
I think I've heard of that.
Really? I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've listened to a podcast or 2 that covered the tri-state tornado. I didn't realize the connection with Murphysboro.
It's crazy that one killed 234 people, whereas, like, Joplin killed less than half that, right?
I think it was 96 or it was in the 90s.
Yeah, wow. That's crazy. Decades later, in May of 2009, the town was heavily affected by a southern Midwest derecho. A derecho is a line of intense, widespread, and fast moving windstorms, and sometimes thunderstorms, that move across a great distance and is characterized by having damaging winds. This event destroyed houses, brought down power lines, left residents without electricity for an entire week. And it did kill one person who was struck by a falling tree limb. But in contrast to that, the region experienced an astronomical event on August 21st, 2017, when the point of longest duration for the total solar eclipse occurred near Murfreesboro. In that location, it lasted 2 minutes and 41 seconds. And it was also the crossroads to another solar eclipse in 2024. And being in college in Carbondale at the time, which is just a few miles away, it was insane. There were tourists and scientists that came from all over the country and world to see solar eclipse where it was at totality for the longest, and even Ozzy Osbourne was there.
That is so cool.
Now let's talk about the Big Muddy River. Geologically, it's massive, about 2,300 square miles of watershed carved out of the fertile flow lowlands and unique bluffs of southern Illinois. Historically, the river was vital for regional transportation and industry, naturally eroding local hillsides to expose the rich coal veins that fueled the town's early economy and led to the state's very first coal mine. Today, it's a crucial ecological corridor. that feeds expansive swamps, state parks, and wildlife havens that make the area a renowned center for biodiversity. The river system owes its distinct modern topography to ancient glacial eras, officially forming after the retreat of the Illinois Glacier about 300,000 years ago. The meltwater from the Wisconsin Glacier backed up from the Mississippi River into the Big Muddy Basin, forming a prehistoric lake. As it silted in and eventually drained, it left behind a flat lake bed. The modern river now meanders through this thick, left behind silt, which is the reason the Big Muddy River remains so muddy. And hidden deep beneath this layer of mud, the basin holds a significant portion of the entire planet's coal reserves. Southern Illinois serves as a massive biological powerhouse for the state. The woodlands provide critical sanctuary, containing more than 75% of the entire state's wildlife habitat. Many organisms living in the southern Illinois lowlands exist at the absolute northern edge of their geological range, making them entirely unique to this extreme southern portion of the state. This highly productive habitat boasts an abundance of species, supporting specialized plants such as oak, shagbark hickory, magnolia, and pecan. The ecosystem is equally rich in animal life, providing a home to flycatchers, warblers, bats, foxes, minks, beavers, and bobcats. But for now, I just want to talk about the swamp rabbit.
I've never heard of a swamp rabbit.
Yes. So I remember being in college and learning about the swamp rabbit. And at first, I thought people were just joking, like, oh, it's a swamp rabbit, until I actually saw one when I was out birding one day.
It
So
sounds like a cryptid.
it does. Yeah. I actually thought people were like joking with me. Um, Unlike typical rabbits, this species is a highly skilled swimmer, uniquely adapted to wetland environments. Yeah,
It can swim?
it swims. They have webbed toes that help propel themselves through the deep water, like even when being pursued by predators like bobcats. And they'll even completely submerge their bodies underwater, just leaving their little nose exposed above the surface to breathe.
I'm shocked.
Yes. And I've seen one, they're real. It, it's incredible.
The photo kind of reminds me of like a standard cottontail rabbit,
Yeah. I think it's a
but
cottontail rabbit that just went into the marsh and was like, hey, this is cool. I like this.
that's amazing. I would be genuinely weirded out if I saw a rabbit swimming.
Oh, yeah. No, I was.
You saw it in the water?
Yeah, I saw it in water, in a swamp.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I saw it swimming.
That's amazing. I'm gonna have to watch a video.
Yeah. I looked up pictures because I was like, I gotta show Marissa this because I knew you wouldn't know what it was. And there's several pictures of one swimming. It's crazy.
I will look it up.
So that's one of those examples where the southern Illinois area is at the most northern range for the swamp rabbit.
Yeah, Southern Illinois does have a lot of really cool stuff, even because that's not too far from Snake Road, right? They have a lot of that's a really
Yeah,
unique habitat
exactly.
too, and I'm sure okay.
What?
I just saw you're gonna talk about Snake Road.
Oh, yeah, I
I just
totally am.
scrolled. I was like, "What?"
Before we get into that, though, I want to talk about the Mississippi kite, which I have seen in Michigan, but not southern Illinois. You might be wondering, what is a kite? For all you people who don't know birds, they look like a falcon, and they actually used to be categorized as falcons, but they were recently put back into the hawk eagle guild of raptors. They are aerial acrobatics, spending hours soaring to hunt for large insects like cicadas and dragonflies, which they pluck out of the air and eat directly with its talons while remaining in mid-flight. But the spotlight here must go to Snake Road, which is located about 30 minutes away from Murphysboro, and a place that both Marissa and I have been.
I definitely wanna make the trek more often. It's hard to do the 10-hour drive down there, though.
This place is globally famous for its biannual snake migration across the LaRue Road at the base of a towering limestone bluff adjacent to LaRue Swamp. This yearly phenomenon involves thousands of reptiles and amphibians migrating from their winter hibernation sites in the bluffs down to their summer feeding grounds in the swamp. Herpetologists have reported that the primary factor triggering this seasonal movement is ground temperature. Prior to 1972, the road remained open to traffic year round, which resulted in the tragic deaths of many animals attempting to cross. To mitigate this, the U.S. Forest Service implemented a seasonal closure of a 2.5 mile segment of the road to protect these vital populations. Today, the road is closed to vehicles for 2 full months in both the spring and the fall to help ensure the protection of early or late migrating species. There's the venomous cottonmouth. When threatened, this pit viper performs a defensive display by coiling its body, lifting its head, and opening its mouth wide to reveal a stark, snowy white interior. And there's the eastern hognose snake. When confronted by a predator, the hognose will initially flatten its neck like a cobra and hiss loudly to look intimidating. But if that bluff fails, it enters a state of mock convulsions. It flips onto its back, lets its tongue hang out of its mouth, and plays completely dead. So many cool species. I wish I could go into all of them, and maybe we will one day. But until then, let's hear about the creature that calls the Big Muddy River home. Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. So, thank you for that great introduction, Grace. Today we cover a cryptid that was so extensively researched that the town website has a whole page dedicated to the cryptid, including the nearly 70 pages of the original investigation case files.
Holy crap! I was not
It
expecting that.
I was shocked. It was a treasure trove. I read through all of it. Thankfully, it wasn't super dense.
I'm so surprised I'd never heard of this one if there's so much information on it.
Me too. I loved that people were actually reporting it, so we had the investigative reports we could actually look at instead of third person blog style information, which you tend to get a little more of when you're looking for cryptids. It all started on June 23rd, 1973, just before midnight, when a call came in from a couple reporting a sighting of some type of creature in the woods just north of the Big Muddy River next to the boat ramp parking spots. The report was immediately taken seriously. This couple was a male teen of 19 hanging out with a 28-year-old married woman in a car at midnight, and she was not married to him.
Oh.
Nothing to gain by that, by leaving the area and calling the police, right?
Mhm.
That can be damaging to your reputation at any decade.
Yes. 100%.
So, this is how their story goes. As told in the police report, the couple was sitting in their car when they heard a loud screaming sound in the woods right next to the parking lot. Their eyes, following the sound, spotted a large 7 foot tall creature with light colored hair matted with mud. The screaming continued from the creature as it walked on two legs towards the couple's car. The couple immediately left the area as the creature continued to approach, and its horrifying screams began changing tones as it continued to walk towards the car.
That's Bigfoot if I ever heard it.
I was thinking Bigfoot as well. The main difference seems to be the coloration of the fur.
Yeah.
Where Bigfoot, I feel like we hear traditionally brown, black colored fur or hair. This creature has often been described with white to cream, light brown colored fur. We're going
Gotcha.
to get more into it a little more later, but some were thinking leucism
Yeah.
or albinism, even because in some accounts state that the creature had red glowing eyes. So, upon investigation of the area, officers Nash and Lindsay found foot impressions in the mud measuring approximately 3 to 4 inches deep, 10 to 12 inches long, and 3 inches wide. It was unknown what creature could have caused the impressions. Upon further investigation, a few hours later, the officers found more prints that were deeper in the mud but not quite as long. The footprints were erratic, and no two were the same distance apart, with some prints being right next to each other and others being 5 to 6 feet apart. There was no rhyme or reason for how these footprints were scattered. As the officer and Needham, the 19-year-old male that had made the call, were looking over the prints, a loud, shrill scream came from the wooded area approximately 300 feet away. Needham immediately stated that the noise was the creature, It was identical to what he and his girlfriend had heard a couple hours prior. They searched the area by car and photographed the tracks before leaving the area, though the officers had no success in seeing the creature themselves. Here are some photos of the footprints, which would you call those footprints, Grace, to be completely honest?
Honestly, my first thought was I can't even really see anything, but if you
I
squint your eyes, I mean, where are the toes?
I think it's the giant gash in the mud. So when we're saying big muddy river, like, it's very, very muddy. It's not enough to leave a finite, like,
Oh,
footprint?
like you go in and then it sucks you in and you have to come back out
Yes,
kinda
that's what
deal.
I'm thinking. That's the only
Suction.
way I could make sense of the photos. They were not what I was anticipating, but these were in the case files from the incident.
That's interesting. I was not expecting that, but that's kinda cool.
Yeah, and there's one more set that shows 2, it kind of even looks like different sized footprints.
Have you ever walked in mud like that before? Like, really deep mud?
Yes, when I did field work several years ago in the summer, I got stuck. It was bad.
That's so scary.
Have you ever?
Only once, whenever we drained my grandma's lake, my sister and I, we kinda, like, jumped in, and we were up to our hips in mud, and, like, we had to be pulled out.
Oh
Yeah.
my
We
goodness.
weren't the first ones to jump in. I'm pretty sure my
Yeah.
brother's cousins jumped in first, but, yeah, it was kinda gross, to be honest. But I kinda liked it, I like mud.
I like
This sounds
mud. My
crazy.
name is Mud. Um, that reminded me, you just unlocked a memory. The year I was doing field work, 2 separate occasions, I learned the importance, and did I follow it? No, but I learned the importance of making sure that you had properly sized boots or waders, because if they are too big, you will not do well with the mud.
Yeah.
So,
Or if they're too small, can you
ugh,
imagine you just, like, can't, like,
yeah.
even escape even if it's an emergency?
Yeah, they have to be the exact right size. We were doing field work adjacent to a construction site. Essentially, there was a bunch of guys, of course, construction industry, male dominated field, all had the hard hats on. I had to go with my hard hat on with my blue hair at the time. The only woman out of 30. It had just rained so bad the night prior. It's a construction site. It was so muddy, Grace, I had to act, and I could tell they were all staring. My boots kept getting stuck in the mud as I was walking, and I had to walk, like, 15 feet, and it was, like, the awful sucking sound is like it was so bad.
They were all
Just
watching you.
walk with confidence. It was so stupid. I just remembered that.
They're all just watching you struggle.
So, 3 days later, June 26, 1973, just after 10 p.m., the police received a phone call from Mrs. Harry Ray stating that her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend had seen some large, unknown creature in their backyard. This report was taken seriously, and Officer Jim Nash and Ronald Manwaring were immediately dispatched to the scene. The daughter, Sherry Ray, and her boyfriend, Randy Creeth, were sitting on the back patio talking when they saw something moving around a small patch of trees in the background. Alarmed, they stopped talking and watched the spot when a large creature suddenly walked out of the patch of trees. The creature did not seem to acknowledge or recognize that they were there. It continued its pace and turned around, walking into a back field adjacent to the wooded area. The creature was described as being 7 to 8 feet tall, weighing 300 to 350 pounds, bipedal, and being pale, dirty white to cream colored. The officers inspected the small patch of trees where the creature was seen and found plants broken and a path of where someone or something had walked through. Upon finding this trail, the 2 officers called Officer Jeremy Nellis, who had a German shepherd that was trained to track, among other things. They had names for everyone in this police report, but not for the dog. And as a
Aw.
result, I have to say the dog a lot. I'm sad I can't give the dog his rightful name.
You can give him a name.
We should name the dog, so I don't have
Yes.
to just say the dog.
Did you have any ideas? What kind of personality does the dog have? So many factors to think about.
I don't know, I know. That's why it doesn't do it justice. I was thinking of basic dog names. What are your thoughts?
Ranger would be a good one.
Perfect. So the dog, the German Shepherd, Ranger. Ranger was led to the area where the unidentified creature was last seen. He began tracking down the hill following the creature's scent when Ranger kept periodically stopping and sniffing at a slimy substance on the weeds that continued to appear sporadically as the dog followed the creature's path. Officer Nellis, unconcerned about anything, picked up the slime directly on his fingers and rubbed it between them, and it left
Mm.
a black stain on his hand.
Ooh,
What was that?
that doesn't make any sense. Was it a clear liquid and then it turned black in his hand?
They did not describe the color of the substance, but I imagined it would be clear if it was just a slimy substance,
Yeah.
but it didn't specify in the report. The fact that he specified in the report that it turned into a black stain makes me feel like it must not have been black to begin with.
Right, like, that was surprising.
Right.
Mm.
Very, very weird. So, Ranger continued to track the creature down into a wooded area and then into a pond, where it was then followed by a steep embankment that was too thick with brush to pass through. So, at that point, they had stopped Ranger from doing his tracking, and two officers went out and looked around that area with flashlights. Officers Nash, Nellis, and Ranger then started to the area directly south of where the dog had to be pulled off the track due to the thick brush to see if the dog could pick up the scent again. Nellis and Ranger approached an abandoned barn, and Nellis called for Nash, stating that the dog, Ranger, had refused to enter the barn. Nellis tried pushing Ranger inside the barn, but he immediately ran back out. Leaving Ranger outside, Officer Nash and Nellis searched the barn and found nothing.
Hmm.
And they specifically noted in the police report that it was hard for Nellis to understand what would cause the dog not to enter, as he had never backed down from anything before, very much outside of his personality. I mean, he's a working police dog. And in fact, he was even trained to search buildings. That was one of the things he had done countless times in the past and been successful at.
Yeah, it had to be scent that was throwing him off. That's insane.
Very weird. So officers continue to search that area, but they were unable to locate the creature, which you're going to find is a reoccurring trend. As this was going on at the same time, Dave Barrell, neighbor of the Rays, who were the ones that called in the incident, said his child had actually come into the house after playing in the backyard and told him that there was a large ghost in the backyard. He had originally, I know, he had originally thought nothing of it. He thought it was just a child's imagination until he saw the police outside investigating. And
Oh
then
my
he put two and two
god.
together and decided he maybe should tell them.
Sometimes whenever you're telling these stories, especially right now, it's like you can kind of just pretend like, "Oh, this is just a story," but this is actually an actual police report, and imagine you're there and you're experiencing this, and it's just so bizarre, unexplained. That would be frightening.
Definitely, especially if it's, like, shrieking, anything like that, or if it's walking towards me and it's shrieking. No, thank you. So, nearly 2 weeks later, on July 7th, 1973, the creature was spotted again by carnival workers. At around 2 a.m., four carnival workers heard the ponies causing a disturbance and they were actually attempting to pull loose from the trees in which they were tied to.
Hmm.
When the workers approached the area to check on the ponies, they saw a large creature 7 to 8 feet tall with light brown hair covering its entire body, weighing between 200 and 400 pounds. The creature was standing very close to the ponies and was staring at them. It looked really curious and interested in them, but it wasn't making any movement towards them. The carnival workers were freaking out. They immediately ran over to the carnival owner's trailer to report it. By the time they all got back to the area, the creature was gone. About an hour later, a single carnival worker encountered the creature near the ponies again, seeming interested in them, just looking at them, but he did not approach. Again, the carnival owner was grabbed and they returned, but the creature was gone. No footprints were located in that area, though. The carnival owner did delay reporting to the police by a few days because he originally didn't want to scare off anyone from visiting the carnival, perhaps causing valuable evidence to be lost due to that delay. I love that he was interested in the ponies.
I know, it's adorable. He's just like, "Hey, what are these?"
Yeah, what are these? Did he want to set them free? Did he want to eat them? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like, do you think he was sizing them up to see if he could eat them? But also, I think they would have mentioned that he seemed aggressive, and the description of all of these creatures is very consistent with the light hair, but they don't really give any more details, like, about the face, do they?
No. So in the actual police reports, they don't. But from other reports and general things I've read online, generally described as ape-like. A lot of people refer to it as similar to Bigfoot, and there are actually some drawings from witness encounters that I do
Okay.
have. So, as these reports, I mean, the police were taking these investigations seriously, and the public and the media took note. So, the reports made their way to the media, and people from all over the country were reading about the creature of Murphysboro, which took on the name of the Big Muddy Monster. With the national media attention came hundreds of letters to the police station from students, biologists, trappers, and concerned citizens alike. I have some of them here I wanted to go through. So, it was amazing. They had a compilation of just some of the letters, I'm assuming just some, that they had received over the years regarding the Big Muddy Monster investigations. And the number of letters they would get of just school students saying, "Hey, I read about this in the newspaper, whatever. Can you give me more info? Can you tell me what's going on?" It's just really interesting because, they didn't have Google, they didn't have more modern ways of getting that information, so they had to go directly to the source. This letter I wanted to talk about was actually very concerned about the violence that might occur due to the concern over the Murphysboro Big Muddy Monster. So this writer states, I feel that if the level of fright among the general populace increases, then the probability of violence also increases, with an identified and concrete source of evil and danger, parentheses, the monster, the resort to guns as a mean of defense becomes very probable, unwitting and unnecessary homicide a likelihood. And then the writer gave their list of recommendations for the police department to basically tell the public to calm down because not only were people fascinated by this all over the country, people were also getting really scared, even though the creature hadn't yet showed any violent tendencies or caused anyone harm.
I wonder if people were flocking to the area trying to find it.
They were, and not only were the, conspiracy theorists, just general believers and that stuff searching, they were even getting letters from professors. Lee Van Valen, an associate professor at University of Chicago's Department of Biology, wrote to the police department telling them that they had recently heard of their creature and it's of considerable scientific interest. So they said if they do find the creature and shoot it, it's important that it's not buried, quote, or parentheses, unless it's a man, of course, discarded or given to any sensation seekers. It should be embalmed or otherwise preserved in good condition. It would be preferable for the undertaker to ship it to me or some other reputable scientist because its study will need laboratory equipment and other materials. Just
Well,
really interesting. And that's not the only letter like it they received. They also got letter from other college students hoping to give it a try and search the area themselves.
I wonder if the government ever got involved.
I didn't hear about the government getting involved. I want to read you my favorite one. And this is obviously written by a child. It's a kid's handwriting and the spelling errors are with it to match. But this is
Oops.
actually from a kid in California. Dear Sir, we read in the Fresno Bee about your monster. My mom can catch it. She is good, too. Please let her try. She loves big adventure like this one. Write her. My mom, and I know how good she is. Her name is Georgie Supnet. And then it gives their address. I won't read that. Where there is terror, she loves to solve. She is good with guns and knives also.
That is
I
spectacular.
love it. And there was some, obviously, other letters they got from hunters and trappers being like, "Give me a stab," but I love the child saying, "You should have my mom come and deal with this."
She knows how to use guns and
Knives.
knives.
And she loves big adventure. Love that.
So
There was
good.
also people genuinely concerned, so not just scared. It was a huge range of emotions the public were feeling, from absolute fear to bewilderment, excitement, and to empathy for the creature. In December of 73, so about half a year later, but same year, just before Christmas, a woman wrote into the police department saying that she had read in the paper that people are hunting the strange creature. And she basically wrote that she hopes they will reconsider this and not kill it. The paper said it had not hurt anyone, even though it could have. It could be a human of some kind, and even an animal shouldn't be killed just to get rid of it. I am asking you to save the creature, please. It could be one of the last living things out of this pass. P.S. I hope it lives on, just a lover of wildlife. Mrs. I think it says Louisville. But I was like, "That's so cute." She's just a lover of wildlife, and she wants the creature to live.
That's so sweet. I mean, she felt so compelled by this that she wrote a letter.
And she wasn't the only one. This is the last one, but this one states, "Also concerned about the well-being of the creature. Why doesn't somebody have some kindness in their heart? Surely a little kindness and feeling for this, quote, monster, end quote, parentheses, person, would go a bit farther in really finding out what is going on. Try feeding him. Perhaps he is just hungry, even for friendliness as well as food. I do hope and
Oh.
pray that I'm not too late. There may be a man underneath all that hair and mud."
Oh,
People were really having big emotions and feelings about this muddy burrow, this
yeah.
big muddy monster. The biggest year for this monster was 1973, but it kind of goes further, and there's some more reports scattered throughout the years. The next notable ones were in 1976, also in June, which was 3 years later from the original. Two police reports were filed, both involving two groups of young children between the ages of 8 and 13 playing outside when they spotted the big muddy monster. Their accounts were taken, and the physical descriptions match what had previously been described. In the first incident, reported on June 19th, the police were unable to find any tracks but did find several very large rocks recently turned over. Rocks too large for the children to have been able to move. The kids were playing wiffle ball when it occurred, and they were all interviewed separately. They told identical stories of a creature waiting in the woods, appearing gray in color and in just standing still, watching them.
I
As the
hate
kids ran off, the creature walked further into the woods and they could hear the loud thumping of his feet.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I wouldn't like it either. And in fact, one of the kids screamed, Ricky. And that's okay to scream, Ricky, because I will say, out of all the police reports I read, Ricky, said he saw the monster and he alerted his friends. The other two friends said they heard Ricky screamed. And each time, both of his friends said that they heard him screamed, or they used the word screamed, and the police officers put it in quotations.
What does that mean?
I don't know, why'd you put it in
They
quotations? It's okay if he
screamed.
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 Was Ricky feeling insecure about his friends saying he was screaming? So they told Ricky, "We'll put in quotations. We know you wouldn't really scream because 'cause you're a tough kid." Like, "What? Why is it in
Oh my
quotations?"
gosh, that's so
That was
great.
my thinking, but I was probably overthinking it. It was just I saw no other words throughout all the reports in quotations. But it was both times Ricky's friends said, "Ricky screamed and I did this," or "Ricky screamed and I looked over here." They always had screamed in quotes. I wanna know the story behind why. The last official incident reported to the police took place on June 26, where three kids were playing outside when their dog who was with them started barking at the woods but would not enter the area. As the children were playing, they looked into the area and saw a being that was, quote, real tall, fat, and big, end quote, walking through the woods.
It's one way to describe someone.
I guess so. So, the Big Muddy Monster was seen again in 1988 and spotted on two separate occasions in June of that summer. First by a group of four truckers, and then by some men gigging frogs.
Yeah, my dad and his friends used to do that.
Why is it called gigging? I didn't look it up.
I have no idea.
Have you heard of it? I'm assuming that just means like hunting frogs, right? But they
Yeah,
call it
so
gigging?
there's this pole with a sharp end, and you just stab the frogs after shining lights in their faces to startle
Oh.
them so that they don't move. Yeah, so you're basically just impaling frogs. It's horrible, horrible.
Huh. Okay, yeah, it's like yeah, so using a spear on hunting fish or small game
That's
with
a
a
better way to
gig.
describe that.
Okay, I just had a okay, that's really weird. So here is a drawing of the Big Muddy Monster from June 1988.
Because 'Cause I'd gone down to some of those letters, but oh, wow, yeah, that's a really good drawing.
A lot of them weren't so good. It was the only one I included. I was like, these drawings are rough.
First thing I noticed, has giant thighs, like, very muscular thighs. It kind of
It
has a little
does.
little bit of a belly, and pecs. It has pecs and very strong arms. No abs is what I'm noticing the lack
Lack
of.
of abs.
Big mouth with teeth that look a lot like ours. So, maybe like an omnivore kind of creature. But something that's very notable is the red eyes.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Mhm.
Could this be Bigfoot's albino or leucistic cousin?
That's so interesting, yeah. The other big feet are like, "Dude, you're causing too much of a ruckus. You're so weird, dude."
What if he covers himself in mud because he wants to look like his family?
Oh.
Aw, because he is, like, muddy. He he he
Oh.
doesn't do that because he's dirty, he does that because he wants to belong.
I love this.
Aw,
He's so sweet. He's just so misunderstood.
he is. Just like the ponies at the carnival.
He just wanted to pet the ponies.
Oh my gosh. That's so sad, actually.
So
Wow.
sweet.
So, in the years since, the creature that has come to be known as the Big Muddy Monster has been a source of pride for the small southern Illinois town. The town has a statue and mural of the creature, and even an annual Big Muddy Monster Festival in June, where cryptozoologists, believers, biologists, and people just there for the cool merch join together to discuss and celebrate the beloved cryptid. The festival hosts speakers, a Big Muddy 5K, and an investigation search area for the elusive cryptid. This sounds like a road trip.
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be cool. With some barbecue probably too?
Oh,
Mm.
just plan a visit for visiting your family in June, and while you're down there, just pop on over here.
Just, "Hey, actually, I'm just gonna leave really fast. I know I'm only here for, like, 2 days, but there's this festival going on."
Tell them to come with.
It could be a
It's
whole
celebrating
family
the
thing.
Southern Illinois culture. They literally describe it as a family-friendly event.
There we go. It's
It's great
happening.
for the whole family.
Mhm. I'm doing it.
Be like, "Oh, yeah, it's describe it as just the barbecue capital of Illinois, and that's why you
Right.
guys have to go," and then they just show up and there's big muddy signage everywhere. They're like, "What did you do?" You trick them.
Like, "Where did you bring us?"
Oh my goodness.
That's a really interesting way to think about all of this is that he's misunderstood. He just wants to be like his other brethren on that thought. Have there been any more recent sightings of him or the creature?
So, there has been, but they're not really substantiated or were actually reported to the police.
Gotcha.
So, the most recent I could find, I think, was the early 2000s. I didn't really dig too much more into it at that point. One thing I thought that was also interesting was a reoccurring trend of people thinking that it could just be a human, which we haven't really seen in some of the other cryptids. Like you don't really hear people thinking Mothman or even Bigfoot is a human. We're usually thinking it's a bear. So I wonder what specifically about this monster was making people think human.
I feel like there's a big difference between a human and a full body hair covered creature. But you never know. I mean, your first thought is to associate it with something that you know.
That's true.
So for tonight's scare scale, 1, completely safe and silly. You're basically giddy just looking at it. 5, it's a little fun scare, a surprising moment that makes a great story. But 10, it's the level where you simply pack up and move as far away from the area as possible. Like, you move your entire life to get away from this area because it scared you that much.
I'm gonna go with 3
Yeah.
because I think it would be a situation where if I did see him, I would be first just instinct jump scare startled, but then I'd be
Mhm.
quickly be like, "Oh, okay, it's fine. He's just standing there." I probably wouldn't feel threatened. Though again, if he's doing the screaming, weird tone shifting thing, that's gonna bump it up to a 7 or 8.
But if he was just trying to look at your ponies.
Yeah, I as long as he didn't look like he'd wanna eat them, I mean, go for it.
Yeah, I agree with you, a lower scare scale for the big muddy monster, but I would say a 5. It would stick with me a little bit longer, like, I'd be pretty startled, just, "What is that? Is it gonna hurt me? Like, do I need to watch out for that?" kind of thing. So good 5. I don't think it would haunt me. I'd probably try to go find it again if possible.
Right, and many people did. They were out looking and searching and doing kind of everything they could to try and find this guy, and they just never did. Oh, one thing I also one of the other letters I just remembered, they specifically look into things like this, so any supernatural, unknown creatures, UFOs. One person writing and describing how they had read uh, reports of what was going on in their newspaper, and they were wondering if there had been any UFO sightings in the area. And if they had
Hmm.
looked into that, because I guess they had said that there was also some UFO sightings, which I could not find another source for. But they're saying, "I think there was general UFO sightings in the area at the same time of these. Have you looked into that connection?" So at the end of the day, it all
Mm.
comes back to aliens.
That would lend itself to that theory that you had in one of the previous episodes, is that, our big feet aliens.
There you go.
So this would be considered a flap.
A concentrated burst of activity is called a flap. It seems like there's a flap each June. So it seems like every time outside of one report, the creature has always been spotted in the month of June
Huh.
into the first week of July.
That's right whenever my baby was born. I think it's a sign.
There's that is a sign. You guys gotta go down one year for her birthday and celebrate the Big Muddy.
Yeah, I think we have to.
They have comic books. They
Really?
might have a children's book. That'd be cool if they did.
Oh, there's a big statue of him? Wow. At first, whenever I heard of the big muddy monster, I was totally thinking of like there's gonna be some kind of swamp creature. I was not expecting this at all.
Right, I agree. I was expecting him to be lurking more in swampy areas, but I think a lot of it had to do to that first sighting where he was more prominently covered in the mud and he was right next to the Big Muddy River,
Mhm.
and that name just really took hold. It's a fantastic name, to be clear.
Yeah. And all I'm thinking in my head right now is I'm picturing the big muddy monster sitting on a tree stump, right? Holding a swamp rabbit in its lap.
The unexpected friendships.
And they're all just living their best life.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
I like
I
that.
think that's all I got.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of Nature Obscura. We hope you enjoyed the episode and make sure to rate and review and give us a follow wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. You can also follow us on social media on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Oh, and Instagram. There's a lot of social media these days. It's crazy. Um, and yeah, email us if you guys have any story suggestions. We'd love to hear them. In the meantime,
Stay obscure, Earthlings.
transmission ending.